Hey people, now that Halloween is officially put away as of today, December 8th. We got out here yesterday with the Christmas display being done and got the dump back there all cleaned up. And today I got out here and got the air hoses, which were there, all put away. So Halloween is totally put away except for one item. So it's time for the first prop build vlog for the Winter Project series. And it's a repeat project. You remember right, we were working on these before we started haunt setup back into August. And we were converting, replacing the LED lights in the panels. And we were switching from red into blue. I ended up getting half the panels converted over to blue. And we use them in the haunt. The blue I like a lot better than the red. But I did not get back here and get the caulking done on it to seal the wires in. So I've got 20 panels, full panels, and 6 1-foot panels out here that all need their caulking on the back of them. And then they can sit here and dry for a month or so. I've got the other half of the panels that still had or have red lights in them in the house, and I got to get those converted over to blue and get those out here and get them caulked. It's probably going to take a couple of weeks. It's not going to be a very long project. But effectively, we're revisiting this project, and this is going to be the first of the Winter Project series. Oh, and that there, this bucket is the last of the 2023 haunt that I have. And these are the fasteners for all the skin panels that go on the walls. And I've got to get them sorted and put away. I got a bucket and a half of those, 5-gallon buckets. Not doing it now, I'll do it at a later date. But now, I've got 9 tubes of caulking left over from the last set of panels I did. We're going to get in here and start caulking, see how far we can go. I do know I'm going to have to go down to Home Depot tomorrow and buy more caulking. But, no biggie. I don't mind that. So, let's get on with the project. Okay, I wanted to talk about the procedure here a little bit on the caulking. Get my stuff out here. I should have had it out before I hit the record button. Now we're going through and I'm caulking in all the wiring. I'm doing it for one reason. One, right now I temporarily have the wires being held with little strips of Gorilla Tape every so often on here. The Gorilla Tape works good for the short run in holding the wiring in place, but it does allow the wiring to get snagged if you're going around bushes, or trees or what have you. So it really doesn't protect the wiring overly much. The caulking, on the other hand, that I'm putting down a bead of caulking and then using a putty knife to go over the top of it to smooth it off so it's the same level as the foam. And that just means I put a big heavy bead of caulking down on the groove, take the spatula or putty knife, run it across the top to level it out, and then you let it dry. Now, as to the type of caulking I'm using, I've had the best results with Dynaflex 230, and they make it in clear, which is what this is, and then they have different colors, white, brown, green, red. I'm finding the clear works best for 2 reasons. Originally, when I did these panels, I used the white. And with being out in the weather and stuff, I found the white doesn't hold or stick as good. And after a season, the white would actually start popping loose, and when it popped loose, it would take the wiring with it. The clear, on the other hand, the panels I did do in clear originally, were still sticking in there. You know, I had a little trouble pulling the wiring out. You know, breaking the caulking loose to pull the wiring out. I had to run a razor blade down the side of the channels on some of them to get the caulking to release so I could pull the old stuff out. Now, so better sticking power with the clear. So I advise using clear. The other reason why I am doing it is I did have one of the panels I originally did in clear where the wiring shorted out on me. And when it shorted out, it left a little black streak on the underside of the caulking, which I could see because the caulking was clear. And that allowed me to come in, you know, if I just wanted to repair that one LED where the short was, I could trim out the caulking on that one little section, replace the LED, put more clear caulking in over the top of it, let it dry, and it was fixed. If you use the colored stuff, you don't get that effect. So you basically can't trace down a short in the wiring. So, you know, there's two benefits with the clear. One, it sticks better. Two, it helps you to find shorts and stuff in the panel down the road if needed. So we're doing that. Right now, I'm doing a narrow channel, and there's 2 rows. There's 9 LEDs altogether. There's 5 in this row and 4 in that row. It takes 1 tube of caulking to caulk in that channel, and I did oversize the channels slightly. You know, I could cut back on the amount of caulking if I narrowed the channels a bit when I was carving them. I like it a little bit wider. That way you have a little bit of play in the channel. You do it the exact same size as the wiring. Sometimes, you know, a connection's a little bit too big, it won't fit in. Or you need to do a bend like here, you know, and you need that little bit of extra room. So, you know, I like, sorry, found a piece of tape that came loose on this panel. So I'm fixing it. But anyway, that's basically the process of caulking. It's just basically going 1 panel at a time, doing 1 row at a time to get to that point, and then you set them off to dry. Oh, and the other thing, I recommend doing this at room temperature. You know, about in between 65 to 75 degrees, or hotter. The hotter it is, the faster this stuff dries. The colder it is, the longer it takes to dry. Now, like that one there. Oh no, hold it. Excuse me, it was this one here. That was the last one I did last night, and it's still showing white. If it had been at room temperature, most of it would have been clear, and there would have been a couple of spots still kind of white on it. I'm out in my shop. I have that for a space heater. It is 29 degrees outside, and that little heater is keeping it at about 40-45 degrees in here. You know, so it's a little chilly. Once I get done caulking all these, it's going to take about a week to a week and a half for that caulking to dry and totally set up. You know, just because of the temperature difference. You know, like I said, if it was at room temperature, by the end of the week, those would be done and I could get them put away. Ain't gonna happen. Too cold. And which is fine for right now. You know, I've got 20 panels total to do, plus 6 1-foot panels. I've got plenty of room in here, you know, to caulk them and let them set, and I don't need the shop for anything else currently. I've got another 20 panels downstairs with 6 1-foot panels that need to be, that will eventually need to be caulked. But right now, I'm still in the process of getting the wiring in. And I'll cover that when I get into that, or when I get back downstairs. But, you know, so these will have time to dry. Putting the wiring in takes a hell of a lot longer than the caulking. And then the next project, I'm going to have to mishkabibble things around in order to get room in the shop. And we'll cover the next project when we get to the next project. Well, now that we're in the house, it's time to get to the other half of the project. I've got the rest of the panels in the house. And if you notice, there's no lights in them. That's because I spent yesterday, after we finished up out in the shop, coming through and removing all the old lights. And as you can see the wiring and stuff in it. I gotta get this mess cleaned up. Then we'll get that sheet up there and we're gonna start soldering in new lights. And then once they're all in, we'll get them out in the shop, we'll get them caulked and go on from there. Give me a bit and I'll show you this, show you the soldering process. It's a 2 to 3 step process. Okay, now if you've ever done soldering, it's fairly simple and straightforward. The process is taking wires, joining them, and then melting some solder over the connection so they don't come apart. That's basically all it is. Now, I've already gone through back in August when I was really doing the project, and I made up all the LEDs I'm going to need to do this project. So that portion of it's done. I'm not going to get into that. I think I covered that in the last vlog. Don't remember, and I don't feel like going back and looking. I started out, I put an LED in here, ran the leads up to where I wanted them, snipped them at the length I needed. Then I went and took some wire. And and I should mention, the wire I am using is some of the leftover stuff from the haunt. So I'm not having to buy new wire. But I basically twisted the connections, like I did here, ran some solder over it, and then went and took a piece of heat shrink tubing, put that over it, and the heat shrink tubing helps to reinforce the joint a bit, and it also helps to waterproof it a little bit. And when you're doing, just one wire to another wire, this 1/8 inch size heat shrink tubing works just fine. Now up here, I've got the wire from there leading up to here. And I've attached an LED plus another wire to go up to the next light socket, which will be there. I can put the 1/8 inch on and it will cover this joint here. The problem you have is when you shrink this or apply heat to it, the heat shrink tubing will pull back a little ways, exposing a little bit of solder, which could be a problem down the line if water gets into the joint while these things are powered up. So what I'm doing is, after I heat shrink that tube on, I've got a piece of larger heat shrink tubing that will run over, that will actually overlap onto this joint. I heat shrink that on, and that pretty much seals everything up. Then it's a matter of sticking the LED in the hole and then running the wire and putting a piece of Gorilla Tape every so often to hold the wiring into place until I can get the caulk again. I've got to do that for each and every LED, and each panel on these, this set, gets 9 LEDs. 4 on one side and 5 on the other. And so I'll be doing 2 runs on this set. It takes a while to do. It's, depending on how fast I'm moving, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour per panel to get them wired up. And I've got 20 of these 2-foot panels to do, plus 6 1-foot panels to do. So I'm going to be out there for a couple of days. And while I'm working on this out here, or in here, the ones I had out in the shop that I just got done doing caulking on are in the process of drying. And it's going to take about a week for those to dry, which is about what it's going to take me to get these finished. I'm only doing 3 to 4 of these a day. I do have some other stuff going on, so I'm not spending all day working on this. But Katie saw me grab the camera, and she had to come running outside. She wanted to be on the vlog. Okay. The wiring I was doing downstairs in my indoor shop is now complete. I need to get the panels moved out here. Problem is I got two things I need to do first. One, I've got the old panels, or the panels I caulked, done, and they've been drying. It's been about 2 weeks. It's taken them just under 2 weeks to dry. Like I said, I used a clear caulking on it, you know, so you can see the wiring and stuff in there. Well, all of them are dried. There are still, like right here where the tape is, it's a little foggy there. But they're good enough, I can get them moved outside now. So these are ready to get moved outside. I got to do that first before I can bring the other panels out. The second thing I need to do before I can bring the other panels out to caulk is I got our next one of our next projects is sitting there. I got a bunch of 4x8 sheets of foam, and I need to get them in here and get them ran over the table saw to get them cut into their lengths and widths I need for the next project. And I can't do that if I've got panels with wet caulking on it in here. So I'm going to hop over, do those panels, and then probably tomorrow come out here and start caulking and getting things caulked. So we'll do that. But right now I'm going to get this put away and see about, or get these panels put away and get on with that. Effectively, since I've already showed you the caulking and everything, you know about that. So I really don't have anything else to show you, and I am not going to say what the next project's going to be. You're going to have to wait. Oh, well, actually, I am going to say it because it's probably going to be several months before the next vlog is up. Okay. Well, I'll just say that. It's just going to be several months before the next vlog's up. I do want to give you a look so you can see what the difference is between the old panels with the old lights in them and the new panels. So, here's a shot, oh God, I think it was last year or the year before last, of the chain hall, or a section of the chain hall with the red LEDs. Okay, yeah, see, they were red. It looked good. I thought the red looked good. I liked it. But here's a look at what we had this year. And remember, I only had half the panels up, so it was a mix of red and blue. I'm only going to show you the section that has the new blue LEDs in it. Gives it a totally different look. But here's a look at the blue panels. There you go, a before and an after. The blue is the new color. Past that, like I said in my rambling here a little bit ago, it's probably going to be a couple of months before I have any footage up, depending on how much videoing I do. But we are going to be doing a new wall panel, and I'll cover that in the next vlog, so you're going to have to wait and see what we're doing. So with that, stay spooky, stay toxic.